la 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 la. Woo.
Hello everybody. So recently you may have noticed that I've been doing a lot of programming and coding generators for vanilla Minecraft and putting them onto a website that I'm coding called mctoolbox.me. So I thought it would be appropriate to go ahead and make a short tutorial on how some of the very basic functions of these work. So in this tutorial I'm going to be showing how to make a very simple ArmorStand generator. So this will just toggle things like the NBT, set a custom name. So let's go ahead and name him Bob. As you can see, there's a custom name. Set it visible, small, things like that. So it's very simple, but it's the very basics of how it all works. So I'll jump into my text editor and meet you there. Okay, so here I am in my text editor. I'm currently using Sublime Text 3 along with XAMPP or XAMPP, however you want to say it, to host the website locally. Sublime Text 3 is a free open source. You can get it registered or unregistered. I use unregistered. It makes no difference. Right here is a blank web page that I just quickly made. Here is a blank JavaScript file that I'm linking in right here. It's located in a folder called files/js, which is another folder, tutorial.js, which is this. Here is the finished product, and here is the finished JavaScript. So right here, all we want to do is we want to go ahead and make a div, and in this div, let's make a label with an input. Now let's make the input a checkbox. Now if we reload the page, you can see there's a little checkbox here. So let's just go ahead and give this a label, so invisible. And now let's reload again, and as you can see, there is the label. Now let's come over here and let's give it an ID of invisible. I suck at spelling. Invisible. And let's do an onClick of gen. So what this does is whenever we click onto this element right here, it will run the gen function. So if we go ahead and come over here and we just quickly create the gen function into our tutorial.js file, we can make an alert that just says something like G for gen, and don't forget to close it. And if we reload, as you can see, it'll say G. So let's just go ahead and empty that. So to save a little bit of time, I'm just going to go ahead and copy and paste this part right here. Just save a tad bit of time. Now underneath here, we want to make another div, and then let's make another div. So with this div, let's give an ID of command and a class of command. I just prefer to put both on this one. Let's give this one an ID of name input, because it's going to be where we're inputting the custom name if we choose to put one. So now let's make a text area with an ID of name text. So now this div, this whole thing, has an area of name input, and it'll affect everything in here inside of it. So if we added another thing like a paragraph, then anything that we do to name input would also happen to the paragraph. And then we also have the ID on the text area, so we can target this specifically. So now that's basically it for the markup. If we come over here, as you can see, here's all of our checkboxes and the text area, and it currently doesn't do anything. The last thing that we actually have to do is let's go ahead and give it a style of display none. Now what this will do is this will go ahead and make it so it doesn't show up at all. Now I could have used CSS because style is basically just calling CSS, and this is CSS code. But since I'm only using it for this one thing, I thought it would be better to just implement it straight into here, but you could always link in a CSS file just like this, and then href is the same as source, so I would do like files css index.css, but I won't. So now if we come over here into tutorial, let's actually do something before function. We have to set some things up before we even start. So since we're using jQuery, this is very easy. All we have to do is do documents.ready, and now let's do function, and just like that. So now anything that happens, I don't even know why it does that, it's been doing that. Whenever the page loads, it'll do whatever we put into here. So we can even test it again with an L for load, and refresh, and as you can see, as soon as it loads, it'll put the L. So what we actually want to do though is we want to define a variable which is set by var, and let's call it name. Oh no, actually my bad, we call it command. The name comes later. So command is equal to /summon ArmorStand tilde start bracket. I just call it a start bracket. You can call it an open bracket, a curly bracket. I just call it a start bracket. So now we come over here and let's call the variable command, and let's do a plus equals, which is a math function, to put a closing curly bracket onto the end. So now var command is now equal to this plus this. So basically it's saying it's equal to this. And I'll show you why we're doing that in a second. So now we want to do documents.get, but we don't want to do this. We want to do element by ID, and now do ID command, and let's target the inner HTML and set it equal to command. So now if we come over here and we reload, after a little bit, right there we go. It will now go ahead and display this. So if I were to change this to something like whatever this symbol is, I forgot what symbol that is, and we refresh, there it is right there, but we're going to keep it as that. So now in the gen function, and I don't know why, there we go. No, whatever. Okay, so right here, we're going to use another jQuery function, and we're going to be targeting the, right here. We're going to be targeting all elements that have an ID, so a pound symbol symbolizes ID, a period, full stop, a dot, whatever you want to call it, symbolizes a class. So everything with an ID of name, text, and now let's do a dot key up and function. Do that, go down there, and we're just call gen. So now whenever we type anything into the text area, it will go ahead and redo the gen function. Now we want to go ahead and come down here, and we want to reestablish we want to go ahead and establish the variable name, which is equal to right here, and this is name text and .val, which is .value. So now this variable is now set to whatever is inside of name text, and that's why we have this. So whenever we type anything into the text area, it'll recall the function and it'll set the variable name to be equal to whatever we just typed. So now we can go ahead and reestablish the variable command to be, again, just this. So again, it's just that. And now we actually want to come down and make a variable called tags, and we want to make it a blank array. So now what will happen is whenever we type into here, or whenever we call the function gen, it will set name to be whatever is equal to the text area, and it will set command equal to this, and it'll go ahead and set the tags array to be blank. Now what we want to do is we want to come down and do an if. So if, another jQuery function, and we want to do right here hashtag invisible So now we're checking to see if invisible dot is, and now we want to go checked. So this will check to see if the text, the checkbox of invisible is checked, and we want to now do this. So now let's go ahead and just do something like an alert and do C for check, and let's refresh. So now, as you can see, it'll go ahead and do C. But if we don't do it, then it won't display C. So now what we actually want to do is come over here and we want to do tags.push. So we're pushing whatever we're about to type into the tags array. So we want to do tags.push, and let's go ahead and make it do invisible :1b. And that is that. So now if we refresh, as you can see, it didn't do, oh yeah, it didn't do anything yet because we have yet to actually set it all up. So I'm just going to go ahead and quickly do that. So if we come over here, normally we come over here, you know what, I'll just do it like this. So just copy all of this, and then I will do this one by hand. Go ahead and paste all of this. So basically it's just a bunch of recopies. So it's just the class of invisible, checks if it's set, tags push the NBT data, invulnerable, if it is set, then it'll push that. So now if we actually come over here, and we need to do if, and let's go ahead and do name dot is, and now checked. We want to come down over here and we want to do documents dot get, and we want to do get element by ID, and now we will be doing name input. So now we're targeting this entire div, and we're going to be setting its style, and then specifically the display equal to block, and that will basically just show it. So there you go. And then we will go ahead and come down over here, and let's do an else, and now we can copy and paste this because I don't feel like typing it, and we just change block to none. Refresh, bam, bam, and now it changes like that. So that's basically everything is done so far, except now we need to come back down over here and we call command, and we do a plus equal, so we're adding something to the command variable, and let's do tags dot join, and what we're doing here is we're defining what will join the elements in the array of tags. So anything that we type into here will be used as the joiner. So if we go ahead and use this, then it'll join like that, but we're going to use a comma. Now we want to come over here and we want to do command plus equals again, and we want to add in a closing bracket. So basically we're just doing this again with a little bit of extra functionality. Now you want to do documents dot get element by ID, and we want to do command dot inner HTML is equal to command. Now if we go ahead and refresh, we can go ahead and see that now it works. So whenever we press one of these, it will now do this. So if we go ahead and change this to something like that, refresh and do a couple more, you can see now it does it just like that. So that's basically how it works. Let me see if I actually missed anything. Oh, I did miss something. Okay, so I want to do down here, we also want to do tags dot push, and now we want to do custom name right here, and now we're actually going to come out and we're going to do that and close it just like that. So what here is we're escaping this, because if we just left it like this, then this double quote wouldn't actually be rendered. So what we want to do is we want to add another double quote and escape it. So now this one will actually render as a double quote. Now we want to go ahead and add in actually the value of name, and now add again, put that there, slash, and one more. So now this will basically put in custom name, double quote, whatever the value of name is, another double quote. And go ahead and close that off. So now if we refresh, let's do name, as you can see, and then whenever we type, it adds it in, custom name visible, show arms, all of these things, and that's basically how you can just make your own very basic custom command generator. Now, my earlier generators that I actually haven't released and I'm reworking right now did use pure JavaScript, just like this does. But now my newer ones, such as the command combiner, the formatted commands generator, all of those all use PHP, which I might do a tutorial on, but I won't actually do a tutorial on how I made those specific generators. But if you want, I can do another tutorial on how to make a generator using PHP. I personally find PHP to be a lot better to use, but JavaScript actually works better in this scenario than PHP does. PHP would have made this a bit more clunky because I would have had to use some fancy array things, and I just also haven't played around with arrays a lot in PHP. So it just would have made it a little bit harder to understand, and plus JavaScript is easier to understand than PHP for beginners. So this is basically how you make a very simple custom command generator. I'm sorry if you didn't really understand it because of the copy and pasting. This is a tutorial mainly targeted to people who understand the basics of JavaScript and HTML and jQuery and all that stuff. So it's not for someone who doesn't even know how to set up an HTML document, someone who doesn't even know how to make a blank page. But so this is just for someone who is wondering how to do it, because I have yet to find any tutorials anywhere that show how to make a command generator. So I hope you enjoyed this one. It's my first tutorial kind of like this, and any feedback is good feedback to me. So please leave some feedback, let me know what you want to see next, and goodbye.
Everybody's wrong. Rewrote the song. Thoughts become action. Tell me what's happening. What's your mind wrapped in? Wrapped around.